So for Valentine's Week, I'm very happy to welcome back to the podcast VL Locey and RJ Scott. VL loves Warren Jeans, yoga, belly laughs, Doctor Who, Torchwood, reading and writing lusty tales, Greek mythology, the New York Rangers, comic books, and coffee, and not necessarily in that order. She shares her life with her husband, her daughter, one dog, two cats, two Jersey steers, and a flock of assorted domestic fowl, which apparently are all under snow as we're talking this morning.
Mostly, yeah.
RJ's goal is to write stories with a heart of romance, a troubled road to reach happiness, and most importantly, that hint of a happily ever after. She's the best-selling author of over 100 romance books. She writes emotional stories of complicated characters, cowboys, millionaires, princes, and the men who get mixed up in their lives. You need to update your bio because now there's hockey players in there.
There is hockey players, yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for having us.
So it's Valentine's week, and you have a brand new book out with the Harrisburg Railers line. Tell us all about Poke Check.
Over to you, VL.
Thanks.
Way to divert that question, RJ.
Oh, she's good. She's good. Well, Poke Check is the fourth book. Correct me on any mistakes I make here, RJ. The fourth book in the Railers series. It stars the goalie Stan. Everybody was crazy to get his story, so RJ and I made sure we included it in the series. I don't know how much do you want me to give you the blurb or just tell you what it's about, or I'm not sure what you want from me here with it.
Tell us what the story is about.
The story is about Stan. Oh boy, he met a fellow hockey player for a training camp during the summer in Helsinki, I believe it was. And they hit it off, to put it mildly. There's a lot of a language barrier going on, but they still managed to get their points across to each other, Stan and Eric. Things being what they were at the end of this training camp, Eric left, kind of broke Stan's heart. Life throws him a little bit of a curveball and brings Eric back into Stan's life and onto the Harrisburg Railers. So they have to then work through their own personal issues, of course, as well as the mess that it brings into the team and into the locker room. It's a pretty powerful story, though, I think. I mean, there's a lot of redemption.
Stan.
Yeah, we love Stan. And there's a lot of redemption in it and, forgiveness. And they both have to look deep into themselves, to get past what happened.
Okay. What was the seed of inspiration for the book?
Well, that's to you, RJ.
Thanks for that one. Can I take the first question? Can we rewind?
No, I fumbled through that. So.
What was the inspiration? Stan started off as just a mention that we needed a goalkeeper, and that was Stan, and he happened to be Russian, and he happened to like talking to the pipes, and he was a little bit odd, as most goaltenders are, and he just grew. He was friends with 10 in book 1, and he was a really good foil for 10 because 10 was all talking and Stan was coming back with some really weird words, and he was just a funny character, and he grew and we got so many emails and comments about wanting Stan's character, and he's still odd and he's still weird, but that's just on the surface. And we get to hear about his feelings about what's going on in Russia at the moment, and his fears for his family back in Russia, and also his hopes for the future. And the whole book is about that. It's his journey from being scared to looking forward to the future and being in love. And obviously Eric was a big part of his life last summer, and we just wanted to show somebody else who had their own journey, and they just happened to meet up on the Railers again, and their journeys collided. Mm-hmm. Did any of that make any sense?
Yes, absolutely. That was lovely.
Their journeys collided.
That was lovely. Yeah, Stan was a really interesting character that he like RJ said, he really just started out as this background character because we needed a goalie, and we decided we wanted to have a Russian goalie. I'm not sure why we wanted him to be Russian, just because we wanted him to be. And he's learning all of his English mostly through American TV, pop culture. Yeah, he's really big on Elvis Presley movies. So like a lot of that is his English is really groovy. And so he's very much like, I think what appeals to me about him is he's almost like Mork from Mork, where you take this alien and you plunk him down into American society, and you get to watch their journey through, his eyes, and he's trying so hard to be what he wants to be, which is an American. And it's funny how it like kind of touches on things that were relevant still with immigration and all of this. So he's really an interesting character, and he's a lot of fun to write. He's a lot of fun. Yeah.
What kind of research did you have to do for like his speech patterns and just what things could be like in Russia for his family and stuff like that to kind of make him authentic on the page?
Well, I can talk about the speech patterns a bit because being a Penguins fan, obviously we have a certain Russian on our team, and the way he talks and the way his talking has improved since when he first joined the Penguins. We're talking Malkin here, all the way through to now. And and Vicky's obviously seen the same thing. And there are a lot of Russians in the NHL, so we get to see their interviews and the way they miss out words that don't seem important and then get words wrong. So we did that kind of research, but the research on the immigration, that was you, wasn't it, Vicky? You did that side.
Yeah, I did that. I read up on how things are in Chechnya. Stan's not from Chechnya, but he's from a very a locale very close to it. And so I did a lot of research on how things are for gay people in Chechnya and in Russia in general. And I didn't want that to overpower the story, but it's a very important part of who Stan is, where he comes from, and why he is the way he is. And his mother and his sister are still in Russia, and it's a very powerful drive of why he does not want anybody to know, because he's afraid that news will get back to Russia and it might impact his family. So it's very important to him and to his character. And, I also wanted to, we wanted to bring that to light and make, have people know this is happening today, in this country. And the more exposure it gets, the better. And so that was part of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's hard to populate a hockey book that doesn't have at least one Russian in it somewhere. So it's great that you, that you were able to deepen out that character.
Well, we have a Russian and a Swede.
And a Canadian.
A couple of Canadians, some Americans.
It's a nice little melting pot. Yeah.
Did you put a British hockey player in yet?
No, but I need to write a British player in the NHL. There has to be a British person here who can play well enough to get to the NHL. There has to be.
Or would aspire to be good enough to do what it takes to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ooh.
There.
There went the plot bunny. I see that look in her eye.
Take a note, Vicky. Take a note.
Take a note, Locey. Yeah.
So take us back 4 books. What was the origin of the Harrisburg Railers series?
I have a weekly thing on my blog where I interview authors, and I loved this series of books about this guy called Vic, who was a hockey player, and the guy he fell for, Dan, who has the patience of a saint. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I'd met Vicky online through a hockey romance website that we both worked on, and hockeyromance.com, if anybody wants to know that. But we got talking, and I interviewed her, and I said, we should write together. And that was it. That was how it started, wasn't it? It was, we had all these stories, and they just spilled out. It was a mess. We wrote book 1 in about 3 weeks, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Then with book 2 and book 3. And the only reason that book 5 has taken longer, 5 weeks, is because Christmas got in the way. So.
Yeah, we had to stop for a day or two.
Yeah.
But it's very inspirational. I find it's different co-authoring as, doing it solo. And I find that I'm usually very inspired to write anyway. I mean, I write on a daily basis. That's just part of my thing. But I find like with RJ, like you write your chapter and you send it to her and you're like, oh, I'm so nervous. I hope she likes it. And she of course, and she's like, oh my God, this is fabulous. And then you're like, yeah. And then she gets ruined. So she's like, oh, I want to write this right now, but it's 9:00 at night and I have, God dang it, I got to go to bed. But you really inspire each other, I find, and I think that's why we can knock them out as quickly as we do. I mean, because there have been days where it's been like, she'll send me her chapter and I'll be like, well, I just might start on mine right now.
Yeah. That's how it works. And sometimes we'll turn around 6,000 words in a particular day because of the time zone differences. So, that works really well. But we just wanted to have this team, and we wanted to have all these love stories, all these possibilities. And we're both great writers of romance. We love romance and we love hockey, and it just happened, didn't it? There wasn't any. We didn't even set out to write a series. When we first started writing, it was just going to be changing lines, and we had ideas, but we weren't sure how it would work. Well, we've got ideas for about 3,000 books.
Just 3,000.
Well, maybe more
for this series.
Yeah, for this series.
Yeah.
How did you piece the team together? What was kind of the process of like putting together, we know we're going to do a book and we need a team and we need some players. How did all of it kind of get put together initially? Just bouncing ideas or?
Yeah, basically. We didn't sit down and like really create a team. Like I've done that before. I've sat down, I think I did that with the Venom, where I sat down and I made the roster and I listed every player on the roster and the coaches and where they play on their practice facility. And that's really handy. But we just didn't do that. It's just not the way we work. We're kind of like, okay, well, we're going to have, like with the first book, well, we're going to have Tennant, we're going to have Jared. And then the characters just kind of came to life as we were writing them. And then, they just keep growing and growing, and they just kind of populated, the series themselves. They're very pushy, these fellas. I mean, when they're, yeah, I mean, like when we were like writing Changing Lines and, setting up for first season, well, okay, we need a social media guy. And RJ was like, I got this. And she just had it, and so we had to have Adler. And then it just like every book, the team grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, it's a very organic growth for the team, which is like
very organic.
A normal team, because you just fall in love with a player on your team, don't you? And they move on, or they get traded, or they retire, or some tragedy happens and they have to have 6 months off or whatever. So it's like real life, and that's how it's worked. So no, we haven't sat down and said, right, he's a left wing, he's 24. We haven't done any of that except for our specific character. We knew that 10 did X, Y, Z because we had to be able to say that he'd been doing this for 3 years, or he'd had this injury, or what have you. So
yeah, like we'll do pretty in-depth character bios of our couples for this particular book, because like she said, you have to have their history. But mostly everything else is just organic, and it just pops up. We'll be like, hey, what do you think of this? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
We're really professional.
Oh, yes, we're highly professional.
And I imagine with 5 books under your belt here now, you've at least got the writer's Bible of who everybody is you've done already.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Yep.
We've got a Google Doc that we add to for every book. And so right down the bottom, we have actually got a table with names, positions, numbers, and brief little kind of like, this is X's arm or whatever. So we've got that, but we haven't got a huge Bible. We just know, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a wonderful team of beta readers.
Yeah, we do.
And editors and proofers who will be like, you said in this book that this was this person's uncle, and now it's like his cousin. Oh, thank you. They keep us in line. They keep us. I mean,
the classic was, I believe we gave I say we. It was entirely my fault. I gave 2 of the players the same number, which
I remember that.
It kind of like it wouldn't have maybe been picked up by some people, but you take a hockey fan, they would certainly pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be super careful and get the terms right and things like that. So
I think things slip by though. I mean, even through proofers and editors and beta readers, we all aspire for perfection, but we're human, so
yeah,
we don't quite get there.
But we're pretty damn close, aren't we, Vicky?
We are as close as we can possibly get.
And that's all we can ask for. Because otherwise, it just you drive yourself crazy with trying to get it right. So,
yeah.
What's the writing process like for you two? You mentioned a little bit that because of your time difference between RJ in London and Vicky on the East Coast, you do get to write a lot of words in the day potentially. But how's it break down between who's writing what along the way and how the plots come together?
I guess when we come up with the idea, we've both got a feeling for which character we want to take. Like Stan was always going to be Vicky's because she has got this amazing connection with his language and his culture, and it's just that was going to be her character. So she would write, are you okay me taking this, Vicky? Because I kind of launched in there.
No,
yeah? Okay. So Vicky will write a chapter about Stan, for example, and then she would send that to me. I read her chapter. I'll make any comments on it, make notes of what she said, like maybe to move the story forward or something I need to do in my chapter. Then I will take Eric. Now he's my character. So I will still write bits about Stan in my chapters, but I will kind of defer to Vicky. I kind of say, well, would he do that? Do you see him doing that in your characterization? So then I will write my Eric chapter and send that to Vicky, and then she kind of goes back and sees what I commented on her chapter. She'll edit on my chapter, and so it goes on and on and on. So it kind of grows very organically. I've used that word twice now today. My word of the day.
It's a good word.
It's a good word.
It works very smoothly for us. Now, I'm not sure if it would work that smoothly for 2 other authors who were co-authors.
No.
But our writing process, even our basic writing process on our solo books, is very, very similar. So, we don't plot a lot. We're very much seat of the pants writers. So, that sometimes we're like, well, okay, this didn't work. We'll have to go back and tweak this. We tweak a lot. We're big.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we're big tweakers.
Yeah.
But it works. It works.
Now, you mentioned being a pantser for both of you, essentially. How much do you give yourselves a framework when you're working together? Or is it very much Vicky going, I'm going to do this today, and then throw it back over and see kind of what sticks, and vice versa?
Totally. It is. It's a challenge, and I think that's half the fun. I mean, I've sent I sent a chapter back in our latest book, and I literally had to hide under the table because I'd done something that Vicky would not have been expecting, and actually she ran with it, and that was cool. And she's done the same thing to me. But it's challenging. It's her character doing what they're supposed to do. Now my character, like in real life, has to decide what they're going to do because of that. So I mean, that's the way we work, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much.
What was the question?
No, I mean, you answered it because it was about like how much framework comes up ahead of time.
There is no framework.
There isn't. There really isn't. I know people are going to be like, "What? How could But you're supposed to have your plot skeleton, and you're supposed to have, blah blah blah. And that's just not the way we work. Even like I said before, even in our solo work, we're very similar in that. Is like if we don't plot out a lot, we write what we're going to write, and like she said, and we'll throw it up there, and then I'll be like, okay, here's the chapter, I'm going to go, and I'll be like waiting to hear what she has to say, because she'll be like, what? Where did this come from? 90% of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, we're very organic in that manner.
Yeah, very much so. But we do know our characters very well. We spend quite a lot of time talking about our characters and their motivations and their void, where they're coming from. So, and we know we're heading for like 50, 60,000 words, and every so often we'll stop and we'll go, look, we've got another 30,000. Are we at the point that we want to be at right now? And should we go back and tweak this? And so there is proper writing-y stuff being done there.
Mm-hmm. Here and there.
Here and there.
And I think, over the course of interviewing co-writers for the podcast, I mean, we hear about all kinds of different processes that it happens. And as long as it works for you guys, that's the key. It would be interesting if like one of you was very much the pantser and the other one was really like, I need a structure. But
yeah, I don't know. Do you think even that people like with that different could even co-author? I mean, like, it would be a lot more difficult, I think. Like if I was a strict plotter and RJ was like, well, here you go, and I've thrown X, Y, and Z into this, I would just be like, I can't do this. You didn't follow the. It would I think be a lot more confrontational maybe, but that's
I haven't encountered that pairing yet, but if I do, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
because it'd be interesting to see like how they work around that, Yeah.
I'm not sure I could work with somebody who knows that in chapter 4 there's going to be this, because I think, was it Stephen King who said I don't know my characters yet, I haven't met them, because you don't meet your characters until you're writing about them and the story takes you along. I might know that these two guys meet and in the last chapter they fall in love and they get married, and in the prologue it's a year later or whatever. But I don't know the journey they're going to put, because the journey, oh my God, word of the day, it's very organic.
So how many more books do we have to expect for Railers? Is there an end point, or does it just keep coming?
We are at least 2 more after Pope Check. We have 5 is done. 5 is done and off to the beta, and the beta's not done with it. So there's definitely 6. Now we're going to do a new adult trilogy after 6. And then we're not sure yet what's going to happen after the trilogy. RJ is coming out to Pittsburgh in March for Angels and Sirens, and I will be there. We're going to hang out, and she's going to come hang out with me here in the mountains and probably get snowed in.
Yes!
But yay! But we're going to sit and we're going to have some wine and we're going to discuss.
I don't drink. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't drink.
Okay, I'll drink your half for you then. Okay. And we're going to decide from there. I don't want to say we will not. I don't want to say we will, but I am sincerely hoping that we will continue on, if not with the Railers, possibly with something new.
There will definitely be something. We won't stop writing. The trilogy, the new adult trilogy, that's is like the first book is called Riker, and that is actually Jared's son, Jared from Railers 1, 10's other half. So there's going to be a crossover book at Christmas with Railers and the new adult series. But absolutely we'll have another series, and absolutely it's going to be something to do with hockey. But there is that whole problem, like, when you have a family of 5 brothers and they all happen to be gay, because you need 5 books, you've got that whole story, that whole problem with a hockey team as well. You can only have so many stories before it's like, is
how many gay men can there be on this hockey team?
Yeah.
Right.
So but I think we should carry on with the Railers until we're old.
Just keep creating new teams for the Railers to play, and then you can meet those people and you can build a whole league.
Well, we have the Arizona Raptors, don't we?
Look at that.
There's another plot buddy or two going off right there.
Oh yeah.
We'll be back later, Jeff.
Now, back in the fall, the three of us, along with Heather Lear, joined up to do Changing on the Fly 2, which is still out there for people to get through the rest of the hockey season. How are we doing on our sales, Vicki?
As of today, we've made about $1,300. So I'm very, very happy about that. And we were just discussing possibly doing a little promotional run with it to maybe drive up some more sales. We'll be pulling it down when hockey season ends, which is May-ish. Is that a word? May-ish?
I think the Penguins might be finishing then, yes.
I can
Maybe
already
March,
see
April.
this I can already see the Ranger Penguin fight for that wild card spot. I can see it coming, and I don't know what we're gonna do. We're always very nice to each other. We're like, oh yeah, way to go, Penguins.
It's been a rough season for all of us.
It has been a season, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. It double so for me, because neither the Penguins or the Red Wings are doing all that great.
Yeah, you've got a bit of a matchup tonight, haven't you? Oh, no, back in January you had a matchup.
Yeah, we're recording this in January, despite it coming out in February. But yeah, tonight, actually, as we're recording it. And we should even say that for the Changing on the Fly figures, too. That's as of January 13th that we're at that point for our earnings as well.
Right, yes.
So, yeah, definitely. For those who don't know, that Changing on the Fly 2 features stories from the three of us plus Heather Lear, and all of those proceeds are going off to You Can Play to help them do their very important work. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes so people can pick it up, and we'll also link to the particular podcast episode where we all gathered to talk about it.
Yay!
So what's coming up next for you two this year, together and separately?
Go ahead, you go first, RJ.
Oh, okay. Well, together, we've just finished Last Defense, which is book 5 in the Railers series. And we're just planning, commissioning cover art for book 6, which is called Goal Line. Is that right, Vicki? Goal Line?
I think that's the
working title. The working title.
Working title, yes.
And we have a working blurb. It covers it's the artist who creates the helmet work, for the goalies. Mm-hmm. Really. So, and a young goalie who joins the team as backup to Stan. So that's really good. We'll be starting to write that after I come out to Pittsburgh. So we'll be talking that storyline face to face as opposed to over IM. And then we've got so that's our August book, isn't it? August. And then Riker is coming out in October, and then a crossover book in December. So that's
correct.
Two of us. And then we've got another 2 coming in the early next year. So yeah, we're planned out into 2019 already.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Myself, I've got the first, what I'm writing at the moment is the first, I've written this down, can you tell? It's the first in a new series set in the fictional town of Whisper Ridge, Wyoming. It's a bit of a small town romance, ranch romance, cowboys, bad boys, doctors, my kind of trade, really. And that's about a third of the way through. That should be with you late February, early March. And then I've got a new PI series that I'm getting to later in the year that one of the guys from that was actually from Texas 8, which came out at the end of last year. He was mentioned in there and people wanted his story. And I'm also releasing Ellery 8 and the final Montana book this year. So, yeah, busy year. Really busy year.
Busy. Oh, me. Okay. Yeah. I also have mine written down because I can't remember 5 minutes ago. RJ covered all of our stuff, so I do have the final book in my MF Venom series. That's coming out in March. Then I'll be doing a couple re-releases of books that I got back from a publisher that went down. I'm currently working on Overtime, which will be the Cuyahoga Cougars #4. So that's shaping up rather nicely. I'm also going to be starting a new series, which is called the Colors of Love series. And I'll be the first one is Lost in Indigo. And they're all hockey romance stories. And every title of the book reflects the color of the rainbow. So Lost in Indigo is the first. I'll probably start working on the second one of that, which is A Touch of a Yellow Sun. But, I have this to write list. Other than that, then there's stuff with RJ. Oh, and I have my shifter books. I'm packaging them all up and hoping to release them around Halloween. So yeah, it's busy. It's very, very busy.
Nice. You two are inspirations for how much you're generating over the next 12 months. So yeah, good luck and keep it up. So what's the best way to keep up with you both online for people who want to track the progress on all this?
For me, the best way is to go to my website, which is rjscott.co.uk. And remember, it's .co.uk and not .com. But I really should buy the .com, thinking about it. And then on there is all the various links to everywhere that I am. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's basically me too. I'm everywhere. You can go to my website, which is vloceyauthor.com. I spend a lot of time on Facebook, like probably way more time.
Yeah, too much time.
But yeah, you can find me on Facebook, just VL Locey. I have a author page and a readers group, and RJ and I are involved in a lot of groups on Facebook, and we're just ridiculously busy.
But it sounds like you're having a lot of fun too, which is great.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for hanging out for a while with us today. We will link up to all the books and the websites, and best of luck on the Poke Check release.
Thank you.